Okay, let's use these two functions, f of x and g of x, for these first 6 problems here. So this one, x squared minus 3, that would be a quadratic function. If I graphed it, the graph's going to look something like this. So the domain would be negative infinity to infinity. This one is linear. If you graphed it, it would look like this, so the domain would be negative infinity to infinity. So what I want to do is try to evaluate the functions at a certain place by adding or subtracting. So let's start with this first one here. I want to add f plus g and evaluate it at the place where the input is 5. So I'm going to have the f function at 5 plus the g function at 5. So let's go find out what the f function would be at 5. So I'm going to put 5 in for x. So I would have 5 squared, subtract 3, and then I'm going to add 2 times 5 plus 1. So I'm putting 5 in for x in both functions. So this would be 25 subtract 3, which is 22, 10 plus 1, which is 11. So f plus g of 5 is 33. Okay, this time we want to subtract the two functions. So I'm going to have f at negative 1 and subtract g at negative 1. So let's go put negative 1 into the f function. So I'm going to put negative 1 in here. So I'm going to have negative 1 squared, subtract 3, and then I'm going to subtract 2 times negative 1 plus 1. So I'm going to subtract those two after I figure out what they are. Negative 1 squared is 1, and 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 add 1 is negative 1. So when I subtract a negative, I add a positive, so my answer would be negative 1. Okay, let's think about multiplying. So this time I want to find f of 2 and multiply g of 2. F of 2 times g of 2. So let's go put 2 into the f function. So I'm going to have 2 squared, subtract 3, and then I'm going to times that by 2 times 2 plus 1. 2 squared is 4, subtract 3 is 1, 4 plus 1 is 5, and 1 times 5 is 5. Why don't you try to pause the video and try these next ones yourself and then come back and see how you did. Alright, let's go down and do multiply and have a negative 2. So I'm going to have f of negative 2 times g of negative 2. So I'm going to go put negative 2 in here. So I have negative 2 squared, subtract 3, and then I'm going to take that times 2 times negative 2 plus 1. This is 4 minus 3, which is 1. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3, so the answer would be negative 3. Okay, let's do division. I'm going to have f of 1 divided by g of 1. So let's go put 1 into the f function. 1 squared is 1, minus 3 is negative 2, so that's what goes on top. Over g of 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, the last one, this one looks a little bit more difficult. We're going to evaluate at negative 1/2. So I'm going to have f of negative 1/2 divided by g at negative 1/2. So I'm going to put negative 1/2 where x is. To have negative 1/2 squared minus 3 on the top. And on the bottom I have 2 times negative 1/2 add 1. When I square this, that turns into 1/4 minus 3. And here, the 2 in the numerator, 2 in the denominator cancel, so I just get 0. Well, once I get a 0 on the bottom, I don't even need to worry about the top anymore. When x is negative 1/2, this thing is going to be undefined, because you can never have a 0 in the denominator.